Kandy Cares presents Abandoned Pregnant, the podcast show with Kandy Dolor. Hey ladies, welcome to the first episode of the Kandy Cares Abandoned Pregnant podcast show with me, your host, Kandy Dolor. Some of you may know me because I've shared a glimpse of one of my many life stories with the public, and some of you may know me as the author of Abandoned Pregnant or as an agony aunt / activist for single pregnant women who have been abandoned by the fathers of their children. If you don't know me, you can learn a lot more about me by listening to my podcast introduction episode. What you can expect from my show is real talk from real women and real opinions regarding struggles, situations, and solutions between the single mother and the absent father, as well as the effects it has on the children and adult children also. On today's show, I'm going to begin with a dilemma that was sent to me on Instagram, which reads, "Hi Kandy, I'm having major issues with my daughter's father. He and I don't get along, but this is because he is seriously childish. All he has to do is collect his daughter and go, but he always wants to talk to me, and that's when we end up in an argument. It's like he's stuck on me even though he has a girlfriend. He won't stop talking about the past either, and it drives me crazy. I decided to stop communicating with him and go through a family member instead. Now he has said I am the difficult one and has abandoned our daughter with excuses of her mother being too much to deal with when I don't want to deal with him at all. It's been 7 months since he last saw our daughter. He makes no effort to contact her, and he has said that he will not do so until she is 16. The thought of this man being able to walk out so easily and re-enter my daughter's life whenever he feels like it, and maybe even tell her lies about me, not letting him see her, makes me so angry it gives me anxiety. How can I stop this from happening?" Well, I've heard of many absent fathers who say that they'll have relationships with their children when they reach the ages of 16, 18, when they've basically become an adult and they're able to have relationships with their fathers without the mothers being involved. But as far as I'm concerned, I feel like this line is an excuse used by immature cowards, immature deadbeat dad cowards who run away from their responsibilities as fathers, and they just leave all the hard work down to the single mothers, then expect to just step in when the job of raising these children is almost done. And it's not like it's taken these guys 16 or 18 years to get their lives together. They make a conscious choice throughout all those years to be absent in their children's lives. And what's more about these stupid males that they're missing is what they haven't said or done with their children before they reach those ages of 16 or 18. But what I want you to remember is that we never know what will happen in the future. You could meet another man, you could get married, giving your daughter a stepfather. Some children have amazing stepfathers and they don't want to know or have anything to do with their biological fathers. Sometimes absent fathers return anyway, in the future on purpose to mess up the family dynamic. For example, if the mother's in a stable relationship and they see that the family they abandoned in the past is much better off without them, and that their child has a man in their life who genuinely loves them, an absent father could return at any time in the future, despite what the circumstances are. So a good question to ask is, what makes these types of absent fathers so confident in believing that they have the power to just walk into their adult children's lives who they abandoned as babies? Today, I have 3 ladies who are all mothers as my special guests, Emma, Sarita, and Vanessa, who will be joining me in discussing this dilemma. Hey ladies, thanks for being on the show today.
Hey.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me. What do you think of fathers who use their children's mother's behaviour as an excuse to stay away until their children are older and are able to manage the relationship with their fathers independently and without their mothers involved?
Well, I think that there's 2 sides to it. Like there's either end of the spectrum, because there can be a situation where the mother is making it very difficult for the father to have a relationship with their children.
Yeah.
So then the father will take a step back. But then on the other side, there's there's the fathers that like to gaslight mothers just make things really difficult for mother and child, and when the mother starts behaving irrationally, that's when they will then use that as an excuse to then take a back seat and go and do what they want to do, because there's a lot that is involved with with raising children. It's more than just money. It's about support. It's about just being there for your children, and you're on call all the time. As a single mom, that you are constantly on call 24/7. They can't cope with that.
Yes,
they can't deal with that, So then this is when they start bringing all of these problems, because they want to live their life. They want to do what they want to do, Sometimes they would probably, have a drinking habit, or they like gambling and all of these things, and then they're faced with that problem. Oh, do I spend my money on what I want, or do I spend it on my child? And then that's when they start becoming very resentful towards the mother, because the mother is constantly calling them, asking them to be around their child. So then that's when they will then use it as an excuse to just take a back seat.
Well, what do you think about fathers who deliberately stay away from their children because they resent the mothers, and they're doing it on purpose to hurt the mothers? And, they're very much in the mother's face saying, I'm not helping you, ha, ha, ha. I'll just walk in when my child's an adult and, take their love away from you.
Clearly, they're having difficulties within themselves. They're having difficulties with showing love to their children. They're having a lot of difficulties where they need to sort counselling or some kind of positive guidance.
Yeah, well, personally, I think, as much as you're saying, with the support and all the rest of it, I'm a single mom. I have my 2 children. I've said to my children, I bring my children up by myself. I've said to them, if you want to know your dad when you get older, that's fine. But personally, I think it's on the child. It's not whether the mum wants to make the child and the father have a relationship. It depends on the child as they get older. If the father hasn't been that stability, that father figure, then they're not really going to want a relationship with their father as they get older. When they get to when they're adolescent age, all they're going to really want is money. Because that's all children want. So, absent fathers, they're stupid for being absent, but you can't really change that fact sometimes. It's really hard.
I feel like mothers sort of enforce kids on not seeing their father because of personal issues that they've had with the father.
What I could say is, if the father is not going to, provide, and he's not going to do stuff, there's no point of running a man down if he's not going to do something.
Yeah, I get that, but I feel like as children, you are curious, you want to know what it's like to have your father around. There's things in your head that, you wonder about your father. What would it be like? What relationship will be of what you and your father would have had?
Now, I can relate to both things that you've just said.
Yeah, that's what she said
as well. Do you know what I think as well? You see, for mother, as much as mothers are damaged and we might get upset and angry that the dad's not around and he might not help us, I think if we put enough love and effort into that child or children that you do have, they are not as affected.
When you said that...
they're not missing out.
Yeah.
They're not missing out. Plus, you have family members.
Right. To be honest, I think that they're more missing out when they're younger, growing up, when they see their dad, when they see their friends and their dad.
Yeah. When Father's Day with me,
doing little things.
I think, you see, when it's Father's Day, when my children go to school and it's Father's Day, and then the kids are making cards for their dads, and then my children can't make a card for their dad, they're making a card for their uncle, or they're making a card for me, where it makes me feel sad. It really does. But
I can relate to that.
I still show them, I don't know, how can I say? I show them 100% love. I show them their mum and dad's love. When you see, with my children, they're not going to feel like that missing piece, because I refuse to make them feel like, oh, my dad's not in my life, so I can't do this or I can't do that. And that's where it goes wrong, and that's where the child goes wrong.
But you can do that, Vanessa, to a certain extent. You can do that to a certain extent. But then there's other gaps where you can't really fill.
Yeah.
There is. You're right.
You know what I mean?
You're right. And that's why I have brothers.
yes, that is a good valid point.
Regardless, they still need that positive male influence in their life. They need that in their life. So whether you enlist family or you enlist friends, then then there's always a way around it.
And even right now, my boys are with my brothers, so they don't have that. I like I said in it, I'm going to give them the unconditional. I refuse to have that missing piece in life. I refuse to do it. And sometimes I feel like I don't want to be that mother because I have so many friends. You see, September comes or Christmas comes, birthdays come, and then you're running down your baby father because it's their birthday, and you're running down your baby father because it's Christmas, and you're running down your baby father because you need school shoes. I haven't got time for that. I do it all. I would prefer to do it all than get a headache because my baby father didn't buy their school shoes by the 5th of September. Nah.
Yeah.
Do you understand? As single mums, we just got to get on with it. If we don't deal with it, right, it's best to get right to do, because if you don't get on with it, you're putting yourself under more stress, I feel, sometimes, because when I see that 5th of September will come and then you still end up buying the shoes.
No, it's
Even
true.
though you could be phoning them, but you still end up buying them shoes.
I agree.
Pocket money, you still end up giving them the pocket money.
I mean, that is the bottom line, that you do have to just get on with it. You don't have a choice.
The thing about it is, as single mums, there's women with partners and still have to do what we do.
No, it's true.
Are still upset. And they're in the relationship.
No, it's very
Do
true.
you get what I mean? So, really and truly, in life, you actually can't win being a mum. Do you get me?
No,
you can't win.
The responsibilities that come with it are,
it's
they're
yours.
a lot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's yours. Yeah, it is. So, but I personally think, from the first question in the beginning, when the child gets to 16, 17, 18, it's down to them whether they want to know their dad or not. And some children embrace that.
But then it's true what you said. You see, at that age, they don't really want a relationship with their father as such. They just want the money.
Right.
They just want...
Yeah.
They don't need that affection and that.
And you know what the thing about it is? If you give them things as a father, that will make them grow to love you. You see, if they grow up and you ain't got shit,
love you, but they won't respect you.
Right.
They won't respect that father.
No, you won't.
Exactly.
Yeah, you won't ever get that.
Right.
But could you imagine they grow up and then you can't do anything for them?
At that age,
They're
16,
really not gonna wanna know
they're choosing fathers who say stuff like, oh, I'll just walk into the child's life at 16 or 18. They're choosing a bad time to actually say that they're going to come into their children's lives, because that is when they are busy. They got girlfriends, they're busy at high school.
Kids, by the time they're 16, 17, they're going to be working. They're going to have jobs. They're going to be making money. So what is their dad going to do for them when they get to 16? Because I would be a child at that age. I would turn 16 and think, what can my dad do for me now? Do you know? So that's what it is. And if you can't give me money, and that's all it is in this world, isn't it? If you can't give me money and you can't help me, I don't really need you, innit? Do you know? Remember, half of the people we have in our lives today, even all of us talking on the phone right now, it's because we grew up with each other. It's not because we met in the club yesterday, or we met at work. Do you understand what I mean? So it's a foundation you have to build to have that. And if you don't build that foundation with your children, I just don't really think you'll ever have it, to be honest. So that choose to not be in their life are really just stupid. We don't have a choice, innit? We're stuck with it. Yeah, we're mums. So...
I think that absent fathers who think they can just come back into their children's lives at another time, they're just really not thinking about the fact that their child might need some more time to decide if they even want their dad in their life, let alone the possibility of, them just telling their dads to just get out of here, leave. So I think that the fathers need to think about just how challenging reconnecting with their kids is going to be, because it's not going to be as simple as what they think it is. There's so much emotional baggage that comes with it.
My eldest son's father, he wasn't in his life until he was 13 years old. And
Wow.
What he decided that he was going to do was he was going to throw money at my son to try and fix the situation. After a little while, he contacted me to then tell me that I need to talk to my son because my son is using him as a bank. So I said to him, well, it was you that laid those foundations. It has absolutely nothing to do with me. You're going to have to fix it with your son. So if he's using you as a bank, it's because you presented yourself as one. Yeah. Now, he's tried to fix the situation, but it's too late now. So now it's a cycle where his dad is constantly giving him money. I'm not talking £30 here and there and whatever. I'm talking £200-300, £500. He's gone out and spent £1,000 on a pair of trainers for his son. But it's the complete lack of respect that my son still has for him. No matter how much money he spends, my son still has a lack of respect for him. But then in his father's mind, he's getting one up over on me. Because my son still goes to his house.
That's pettiness.
Yeah, well, this is it. So then I'll tell you what happened was that now that my son is 16 years old now, my son, he's starting to get into things that teenagers usually do, and he needs that guidance. Thank goodness I have my partner to watch over him, and guide him in the right direction, because according to his father, my son is now an adult and he can do whatever he likes. So then,
see, the thing is,
there's a lot of there's a lot of things that comes into it with the children. While they're young, as they get older, they need more and different things.
No, I understand. What were you saying, Sarita? No, I understand what you're saying, Emma. I totally agree. What were you trying to say, Sarita?
The thing is with that is your son's father decided to not come into his life until he was 13. So at that age, what can you really do with them but give them money? So because he's had to obviously give him money to console his own guilt, your son is now looking at him as, that's all he knows him as now, somebody who gives me money. So that's all he's going to expect from him, because he hasn't had that love from a father growing up. So he has really set the foundation.
At that age, children need support with their education. They definitely need support with their education. They need help with dealing with their peers. All of these.
But he doesn't know his father on that level. He probably knows you on that level as his mum, because you've been the one that's been supporting him for as long as he's known. He doesn't know his dad like that. So he's all he's seen is money being thrown at him. So he's gonna use his dad for that.
Yeah, maybe if his dad came and approached him on a deeper level and had a deeper connection with him than just that. Yeah.
The reason why his dad is not going to probably approach him on that is because it's his own guilt, and he feels like, I haven't done anything for my child. I haven't brought him this, or I haven't brought him that.
So he's going to buy his love, basically. Yeah. What would you say to mothers what do you think about mothers who feel that kind of way?
I think it all depends on what the mother has exposed the child to.
Yes,
in
that's
terms
a
of how
very good point.
React to the father.
Very good point.
If the mother has shown the child a lot of things that she's gone through in a relationship with the father, then the child is more likely going to hold resentment, because the child has already built up a character on the dad, on the father, based on what they've heard from the mother.
Yes, and that's what you've made.
I think it's very important that us as mothers, we separate the two.
Now, that point that you've made is a very good one, because I guess when the kids are growing up, if they hear their mother saying, your dad's a this and that, You know, as they get to a certain age, they will have that in their head. So maybe at the time when the father tries to approach them, they'll think, well, you're just a this and that anyway. So absent fathers, they need to think about that as well. They call it brainwashing. You know, they'll blame the mothers and say, well, you turned my child against me. But sometimes the mother's just telling the truth. Not all mothers are going to...
Whether it's the truth or not, a mother shouldn't, you know, we shouldn't do it. A lot of us do it, and, you know, and in times of stress, we can do it, you know, but we shouldn't do it. But, you know, but really and truthfully, what really burns...
You're saying we shouldn't do it. See, you think dads... You see single dads, you think single dads don't cuss them out.
I was just... Right, they... Exactly.
Do you think they don't cuss them? You think they're not human? You know what? We are just human. We're human. We are human. You get me? You know what? We are human. Do you get me? That's what it comes down to. Do you know what? You see, sometimes, you see a man... When you have to sit down with a child and be with a child 365 days a year, yeah, and do everything, and then sometimes the child don't listen, or sometimes the child wants to mash up the house.
It's true though.
You understand? Because I'm so emotional about it. Do you get me? That's it.
That's why sometimes we shouldn't do it, but we do end up doing it. You know, and then it's a situation where, like, when we become comfortable with doing something like that, that's when the child starts being used as a weapon, right? And then it goes back and forth, and then that's when it starts tearing the child apart. You understand? So then, you know, so when it comes down to all of that, you know, it's usually the absence anyway that affects the child.
Emma, Sarita and Vanessa, I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation today, and I'd like to thank the three of you for taking part in today's show.
Thank you for having us.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, listeners, so here are my final thoughts for the show's topic today based on what was said. I don't believe that all teens only want money from their estranged fathers. Some are genuinely looking for their father's love, for their father's validation, and to have a connection with their fathers. Some teens really want that bond. However, some don't. It really depends on the person, as everyone is different. However, I will agree in saying that the majority of teens at the age of 16 will want money from their fathers. They will expect it in return for his absence because they're going to feel like they're owed. And they might even see the deadbeat dad as a bank. And the deadbeat dad might know it for himself too that he's being used, but his guilt stops him from speaking up. It's extremely hard for fathers to connect with their children as adult children because there's no foundation. There's no foundation for trust. There's no foundation for love and respect. And that will be a challenge for the child to build towards an absent father, all while getting to know each other. Estranged fathers seem to forget the implications of a reunion. Now, I'm going to finish off this episode with a message for single mothers who can relate to this dilemma. I want women in this situation to remember to keep calm whenever you feel angry or anxious over the thought of your child's father, possibly being able to just re-enter you in your child's life in the future. Tell yourself this one thing. You never know what the future holds. And I'm going to leave you guys with that today. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to have your dilemma discussed on my show or take part in discussing your problem, then please send an email to candycaresbooks@gmail.com or DM me on Instagram, which is my main platform for dilemmas. If you're a professional who would like to be featured on the dilemma panel for an episode, then please get in touch.
Danny on the track, boys. Danny on the track, boys.